Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dollhouse. I'm Maeve, your Wednesday doll, and this week we are talking about religion. Okay, guys, so this week we are talking about religion, which I know is going to be a sensitive topic for a lot of people, but we are here today to talk about our beliefs a little bit and how we feel about religion and how it's affected us. I personally am not a super religious person. I would say I'm very spiritual. There are a lot of people in my family who are Catholic and identify that way, and there are people in my closer family who identify as Baptist, but growing up and stuff, I really didn't go to church a whole lot unless I was at my grandparents' house, and they were the ones that were Catholic. And those services were held in a church that people primarily spoke Spanish, so I really didn't understand a whole lot of what was going on. But I'm the type of person where, even though I'm not religious, I have always been very respectful of other people and their religions. I think religion can be a great thing, especially if it's practiced the way most of the time it's supposed to be practiced, which, is usually a message of love and tolerance and, trying to understand others and trying to uplift others. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of times organized religion gets this wrong. I feel like organized religion a lot of the time ends up focusing on negatives and sin and things like that. And that's where I feel like all the problems come in, and where trans individuals specifically end up having lots of problems, because to most religions, we are kind of a spit in the face of God or whatever deity it may be, because we are basically saying that he, she, it made a mistake when we were created. And a lot of people just are not okay with that kind of a message. Saying that we were born in the wrong body to a lot of religious people means that he, she, it made a mistake. And that absolutely can be just very offensive to some people. So I really don't know what to say, I guess, in advice to the people who are religious and trans, except for that being religious does not necessarily mean that you have to attend church. And even if you really feel like you want to attend a church, there are places where, because of the internet now and all the different resources that we have, you can find other like-minded people of the same denomination and faith as you who are willing to accept you regardless of whatever silly, things that may come up based on, how your life may be a sin or how you may not be worshiping the way you're supposed to. Because at the end of the day, I really feel like religion should be an instrument to uplift people and to make people better, people in general. And if that was the way that it was, I think religion would be so much more amazing than it is. But it's not my job to judge people and how they practice their religions, as long as they're not encroaching on my personal freedoms and my personal rights. So I usually, like I said, I don't really worry too much about religion. I don't really think about it too much on a day-to-day basis. But like I said, in my opinion, I'm spiritual, and I believe that there is something that's maybe a higher power of sorts. But I think it's something that, if God did exist, which I'm not saying he does or does not, or that he's a he, she, or an it, I would think that this deity would be much more powerful and wouldn't really have time to sit and kind of nitpick on the people of Earth. It would be more of a sense of like, this grand cosmic essence or spiritual being can give life but doesn't really govern what happens after that point, and it's really more up to you. But I really honestly don't have any set belief system. These are things I've just kind of thought about in passing. And, I really do think that a lot of religions are also very beautiful and very peaceful, and they give, people, a great, like, outlook on things because of the way that they go to church and that they meet other people and they convene around, being tolerant and being loving, because there are people who do practice that way. You know, I think Christians get a lot of flack for the way they worship and, you know, the type of things that they impose on other people. But I have met great Christian people who did respect me and who did absolutely invite me to their church and who didn't mind if I was there, even if other people in the congregation didn't necessarily accept me. I've had pastors tell me, you know, and ministers and people tell me that you can definitely come to our church whether anybody accepts you or not. I accept you and I want you there. And I think that's beautiful. And you know, I remember being younger and being somebody who was totally against religion and I hated it. And it's gotten to the point now where I kind of resent the people who act that way because I feel like it has more to do with their frustrations around religion and not necessarily the people or the religion itself, but more just the frustration having to deal with how much judgment they've probably dealt with. And that has more to do with us as humans and how we interpret religion than anything else. I actually really like going to churches. I think it's so much fun, different temples, churches, things like that. I think they're just so beautiful and the ceremony is just so nice to be a part of. I remember that was one of the main reasons why I liked being in Catholic church was because it was so ceremonious and beautiful and there were you know, incense and chanting and I just always thought it was so peaceful and so beautiful. So I mean, I just have a great respect for anybody who really, you know, gets something out of religion, especially something positive and something that helps them in their day-to-day life. And like I said before, if you're having problems because you're either gay or transgender or whatever the case may be and you're religious and it really means a lot to you, all I would say is to hold on to that faith for dear life because if it's something that has helped you in the past and something that's given you purpose, it's going to continue to do that for you regardless of how people feel about how you fit into some silly mold that they've made for you to fit into. So if it is something that you believe in and that you love, I would just hold on to it the best that you can, find a way to worship in your own way, and, you know, just embrace the fact that if there is somebody up there watching over all of us, that he probably really doesn't care where you worship as long as you're doing the best that you can and being the best person that you can. But yeah, I know this was a little scattered and a little silly. But I mean, I find it hard to talk about this topic because I really don't feel any way particularly about it. I guess one strong opinion I guess I do have before I go is that I feel like most religious texts are complete and utter bullshit. And I'm sorry if this offends you. This is going to be the only thing that I say that'll probably be really offensive in this video. I think most religious texts were written by people in a time where they were necessary in order to maintain control over people and so that chaos didn't completely break out and you know, our societies weren't decimated to complete rubble. Because without these rules, without these commandments and religious texts to keep people in line, people would have absolutely lost their minds. Because it was a time where there was a lot of war and a lot of famine and just people really needed something to cling to. So I believe in a sense, you know, those religious texts and those religious books and things, they were important at that time because they really did have a place. But those standards and those ideals that are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old are still being applied to us now, which is pretty ridiculous because we live in a completely different time where we definitely have the ability to think for ourselves and we don't need these standards to tell us what is right or wrong. So that's like kind of the only thing that I have to say is that I think that, you know, you really shouldn't live your life by a book that was probably written by a bunch of men who felt a particular way about this, and this. That just seems a little silly to me. But at the end of the day, it is your decision what you want to do with your life, and I wish you the best. And I hope this video was okay. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.